Hello and welcome back or welcome to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and since I'm an established fan of big orange machines, we're going to be taking a look at the new Argo ATLS platform, Star Citizen's first mech. Like many, I was very much expecting the first mech in game to be the combat-oriented Titan suit that we've seen teased, but I'm pleasantly surprised that instead we're getting an industrial cargo loader, particularly since it directly addresses some of the issues that I've been having getting into the new cargo hauling missions. So if this sounds good to you, then grab a cup of tea while I roll the intro, then let's get into it. The A.T.L.S, or A.T.L.S, is a relatively simple bulk cargo lifter from one of my favourite in-game manufacturers, Argo. It's currently available to try out in the PTU, and should be making its way to the live game shortly. There's no info on pricing yet, but as is tradition ahead of the major sales in November, this will likely represent a, emphasis needed here, relatively cheap LTI token. If I were a betting man, I'd probably put my money on around $20 to $25 US before any taxes are applied. So let's kick things off by taking a quick look at the form and function, then we'll try out a bit of mech-assisted hauling. The design is certainly Aliens inspired, and while it's a little bit on the clunky side, I actually quite like that aspect of it. I personally think the whole startup animation is a really cool feature. Unlike most vehicles, there's no need to power the mech suit on at all, and you can just crack on as soon as you're in and set up. Sprinting with shift will marginally increase your speed, but overall it is quite slow, and it wouldn't be advisable to travel any big distances in one, although I am pretty sure that at some point we'll come up with some form of obstacle course race for them at a later date. Diagonal movement isn't really a thing, but you can sidestep in it, and if you've come to a halt with your forwards or backwards locomotion. And I've got 1 million AUEC for the first person to put together an Argo ATLS line dancing video. The ATLS has no zero-G capabilities though, so I certainly wouldn't recommend taking one for a spacewalk. The mech does benefit from a small profile, and while I've been mostly using it in combination with my main hauler, the C2 Hercules, it comfortably fits aboard smaller options, like my Cutlass Black. And it doesn't seem to struggle with ramps that much, although we did get it stuck a couple of times right at the top of the C2 ramp, and a little workaround trick that Rav discovered, just in case it helps anyone out, is to turn around and walk up the ramp backwards if you're having any difficulties. I don't know why it works, but it does. We can't currently mess around with the loadouts for it at all, but it comes equipped with a tractor beam as standard, allowing you to haul boxes around with ease, which is its primary function. The actual mechanics of the tractor beam are entirely new versus what we've had before. Left clicking on an item will automatically draw it towards you, and by looking around you'll see the outline of where the box will be placed, and another click will then send it there. This takes a little bit of getting used to at first, but it makes shifting large volumes of crates extremely quick once you've got that knack for it. Hopefully as time goes on, we'll get some customization options for the mech, with potential mining and salvaging applications immediately springing to mind, particularly if the locomotion speeds were dialed up just a wee bit. Put the ATLS through its paces, Ravnak and I got together in the PTU and took one of the bulkier hauling missions, an interstellar route to transport more than 100 SCU of stims from Magnus Gateway to Everest Harbour. One thing we did discover along the way: don't activate the ATLS's tractor beam when your pilot is trying to land in a hangar. This interaction can cause some physics. But I do have to say, aside from throwing entire ships out of a station, cargo handling is where the mech truly shines, with the new tractoring mechanics making shifting all these boxes just an absolute breeze. Previously I tried getting into the hauling missions, but they did have me searching Amazon for replacement mouse wheels for my Logitech when trying to use the standard max lift tool. The pull and push method is many times quicker, but it is a little bit rough and ready, and you do have to be quite careful, particularly if there are two of you, that you don't slam boxes with wild abandon into your ship or into your fellow teamsters. Where the Atlas really excels is the rapid relocation of cargo from point A to point B. You may want to consider still using a handheld tractor beam for more precise placement of cargo after that, particularly since by default the mech will hold a box up above your head, and there's a risk you can boop the boxes into the roof of your ship, even a larger one like a Hercules. One thing I would love to see is a switch in the cab to alternate between this mode for quick relocation work and a precision mode akin to what we see on other tractor beams, for more delicate placement. And to be fair, this is an upgrade I'd now like to see on all ship tractor beams at least, since it makes such a difference in terms of utility. Rav and I did also head to HGMS Lathan on Ariel to pick up a load of cargo, as if we were doing a more standard trading run and trying to fill our ship. And here, as we tried to really tidily pack the ship, is where some of the drawbacks of the Atlas's smash and grab approach to box movement became more apparent. Notably, I did find that the mech was pretty awful at actually pulling boxes out of a fully stacked elevator, although admittedly a touch of this might be user error and I may in fact just need to get good. However, more likely to me is that a truly well-oiled cargo moving operation is likely to involve using multiple tools, combining the Atlas with other things like handheld beams or other ships like the MPUV tractor. As is likely obvious, I'm quite a big fan of this new little toy, but there is one nagging concern I have that we discussed while getting the footage together last night, and that's the issue of manufactured inconvenience. This mech is the difference maker for me personally in terms of making cargo hauling missions actually fun. I like the idea of hoofing boxes around the verse, and effectively participating in hauling gameplay without the eggs meat basket issue of trading, but I was finding the larger volume missions to be something of a scroll wheel simulator that wasn't all that enjoyable. With the Atlas though, I'm a lot more engaged, and that's both a good and a bad thing I guess. I'm a big fan of a guy called Josh Strife-Hayes, and he's got a fantastic little video about how developers are sometimes incentivized to make ostensibly poor gameplay decisions so that their company can subsequently sell you the solution. The classic example is loot-focused ARPGs where your bag is just obviously too small. A bigger bag is available on the cash shop. Longer term, since this will likely follow the pattern of all of SC's vehicles and we'll see the Atlas in ship shops for AUEC in a couple of patches time, this shouldn't represent an issue. But considering hauling missions are a key feature of the 324 build, and this mech will likely spend this rotation as cash only, it just leaves a little bit of a funny taste in my mouth. I think for a full review it's important to say. But I don't want to end on a sour note, and to lift it up a bit I would stress one thing. I think more than ever with 324's changes, cargo hauling and trade is becoming a multi-crew activity. I personally already thought it was something people should be doing as a team, given the risks of piracy and the advantages of having turret gunners aboard your hauler. But now with the need to load and unload your vessel, it's going to be essential, outside of the small delivery runs. You're going to want to just have more hands to make lighter work of any mission. So if you are interested in getting into cargo, I would strongly recommend that you look for friends and org mates to crew up with. And chances are if you do, then someone is going to have access to one of these mechs to speed up that process without you needing to necessarily go out and buy one. There are tons of orgs out there, and you are of course welcome to hop into our Discord via the link in the video description down below. There's no pressure to sign up to join our org, and you'll find plenty of folks keen to get you into some multi-crew action. So with all that said, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you next time.